What is up, race fans? My name is Owen, and welcome to the first episode of Season 3 of the Bent Fender podcast. Before I get started, I do apologize for not doing the Clash 2 weeks ago, or however long the Clash was. I accidentally missed it because I assumed it was on Sunday and it was on Saturday, and I wasn't able to go back and actually watch the whole event. Um, so yeah. Also, um, let's just get into the actual review. So I'm going to do both the duels as well as the main 500. So, um, in the first duel, it was 60 laps. The first duel was to set the inside line for the main race. There were three drivers racing their way in. So these three drivers don't have charter, which means they don't automatically qualify to get into the race. So the three drivers for race one were Jimmy Johnson, Anthony Alfredo, and JJ Yeley. So with this, the first driver automatically gets the driver who finishes the highest out of these three automatically gets in, and then the driver who has the fastest qualifying time gets in. So in this one, Anthony Alfredo had the fastest time. Then it was Jimmy, then JJ. The only way for JJ to make it in is if he finished ahead of both Alfredo and Johnson. So, with that being said, getting to the actual race, as my computer's just slow. So, Joey Logano and Kyle Larson were on the front row. Larson leads the initial start. Anthony Alfredo leads for the transfer drivers. So for this one, I'm going to do leader, whoever passes for the transfer drivers as well as the lead. So, then Jimmy Johnson takes the transfer driver lead. Then Daniel Suarez takes the main lead. Then it goes Eric Jones, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Martin Truex Jr. trade the lead. Then Anthony Alfredo got a speeding on pit road penalty. After that, Kyle Larson takes the lead. Then JJ Yeley leads the transfer drivers as Jimmy Pitt. Then Todd Gilliland took the lead. Then Jimmy Johnson took the transfer driver lead again. Then Ross Chastain got a too fast exiting pit road penalty. Joey Logano takes the lead. Then Larson takes the lead from him. Then Ricky Stenhouse Jr. gets into Daniel Hemrick, who spins and collects Johnson and Dillon, creating the first and only crash for this duel. Hemrick is the only driver out. After that, Daniel Suarez takes the lead. Then JJ Yeley and Jimmy Johnson trade the transfer driver lead back and forth. After that, Kyle Larson leads. Then Johnson and Yeley traded back and forth, still going to like the end. And Tyler Reddick ends up winning the duel. and he will start third for the main race. And at the end, Jimmy Johnson ended up taking the lead, and he ends up transferring to the 500 along with Anthony Alfredo. Unfortunately, JJ Yeley is heading home. So the top 5 drivers for the first duel were Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, Carson Hocevar, and Eric Jones. So these guys will be starting 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and 11th. So going on to the second duel, which was also 60 laps, the 3 drivers who are in the hunt to get in were David Reagan, BJ McLeod, and Kaz Grala. So starting on the front row were Michael McDowell and Austin Cindric. McDowell leads the initial start, and David Reagan leads the transfer spots. After that, William Byron took the lead. Then BJ McLeod takes the transfer driver lead. Then AJ Allmendinger takes the main lead, followed by Herbst and Wallace, who take the lead. Then David Reagan takes the transfer lead. Then after that, Michael McDowell and Harrison Burton lead off pit stops, I believe. After that, Zane Smith gets a too fast exiting penalty. And after that, Ryan Blaney and Michael McDowell trade the lead, so McDowell's leading. Then BJ McLeod takes the transfer driver spot. Then Brad Keselowski gets into the back of Kyle Busch, who gets into William Byron, and he spins, and he ends up collecting Ryan Blaney, Bubba Wallace, Noah Gragson, Riley Herbst, BJ McLeod, Justin Haley, and Chase Briscoe. Which that brought out the first caution for the second duel and a red flag. Off this, Ryan Blaney, Noah Gragson, Kyle Busch, and Riley Herbst were out, so they will start in the last 4 spots of the right lane. After that, Kaz Grala leads the transfer drivers while Denny Hamlin leads the main race. Then McDowell and Hamlin trade the lead back and forth. Then BJ McLeod takes the transfer driver lead. Then Christopher Bell ends up taking the lead of the race. Then right at the end, Kaz Grala takes the lead of the transfer drivers. And Christopher Bell wins the second duel. So the top 5 for the second duel were Christopher Bell, Austin Cindric, Denny Hamlin, John Hunter Nemechek, and Harrison Burton. So that is 4th, 6th, 8th, and 12th. And the 2 drivers to transfer from this race was Kaz Grala and David Reagan. So getting on to the main event now. William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch, Noah Gragson, and Daniel Hemrick all had to go to the rear as they were in backup cars. And Kaz Grala had to go to the rear because he changed his engine in his car. So, getting into stage 1, it was 65 laps. And the front row was Joey Logano and Michael McDowell. And with Joey Logano on pole, this is actually the first time ever that Team Penske has a pole for the Daytona 500, which seems wild to me for some reason. But getting on to the race, Logano and McLeod end up leading and trading trading the lead back and forth for the first couple laps. Then Brad Keselowski makes contact with John Hunter Nemechek, who spins and collects Harrison Burton, Carson Hostafar, Kaz Grala, Jimmy Johnson, and Ryan Preece, as well as Austin Dillon. That is the first caution of the race. And as a result of this, Harrison Burton, Kaz Grala, and Carson Hostafar are all out, and Austin Dillon ended up going behind the wall for a while. After this, Ryan Blaney and Christopher Bell did not pit, so they assumed the lead. As well as AJ Allmendinger had a pass-through penalty as he had a incorrect starting position, as well as John Hunter Nemechek had a equipment violation penalty. So after Blaney and Bell battled for the lead for a while, the green flag pit stop started, which meant Michael McDowell took the lead, Chase Elliott took the lead, Bubba Wallace then took the lead, then Noah Gragson took the lead, then David Reagan took the lead, which I did not expect to be saying, but he played his strategy well for the first stage. After that, Kyle Busch ends up taking the lead away from him, and then Chase Elliott takes the lead from him, and Chase Elliott ends up winning stage 1. So at the end of stage 1, there were 3 cars out, 1 car off track, and 3 cars that were laps down. Alright, getting into the second stage, it was 65 laps. And at the start of the stage, Austin Dillon came back on track. He was like 54 laps down or something like that, so he definitely wasn't coming back from that. Kyle Larson and Josh Berry were on the front row for the restart. Kyle Busch got a safety violation penalty on this round of pit stops, and John Hunter Nemechek got a over the wall too soon penalty. That was his second penalty of the race so far. After that, Joey Logano took the lead, then Todd Gilliland, then Bubba Wallace, then Kyle Busch ends up taking the lead. Then green flag pit stop start again. As they start, Ryan Blaney takes the lead. And on the second round of the green flag pit stops, Josh Berry spins off John Hunter Nemechek trying to get into his pit. Berry ends up pitting backwards. So luckily there wasn't someone right behind him, so he could just do a Yui on pit road. After that, Ryan Preece got a too fast entering penalty. Then Kyle Larson ends up taking the lead. Then Austin Cindric and Kyle Busch lead their respectful lanes. And then right at the end, Ryan Blaney takes the lead, and Ryan Blaney wins stage 2. So at the end of stage 2, there were 3 cars out and 7 that were laps down. Alright, so the third and final stage was 70 laps. Austin Cindric won the race off pit road. Then Kyle Busch ends up losing the nut on his front left tire, and he has to come back and pit again. But that must have been a slow, like, saunter or like drive going around like the 2.5 miles of Daytona to get back around to the pits to end up to put a nut on a tire. Ugh. I don't know how he did not go a lap down with that, but I'm just making no sense here. So At the start, Austin Cindric and Bubba Wallace were on the front row. Also, on that round of pit stops, Daniel Suarez got a equipment interference penalty. After that, AJ Allmendinger took the lead. Then Corey LaJoie and Denny Hamlin end up taking the lead. Then Kyle Busch ends up brushing the wall as he tried to fill a gap. He just makes contact with the wall. Then, after that, Joey Logano ends up taking the lead. Then green flag pit stop start. And Ross Chastain ends up taking the lead. Then Michael McDowell ends up stalling on pit road as he was going out of his pits. I saw him stop for a while. At the end he was like 6 or 7 laps down or something like that. After that, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Daniel Suarez, and Ross Chastain take the lead. And after that, the big one happens. As Alex Bowman gets into the back of William Byron, who he gets loose and makes contact with Brad Keselowski, who spins and collects Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Todd Gilliland, Anthony Alfredo, Tyler Reddick, Eric Jones, Chris Buescher, Chase Briscoe, Martin Truex Jr., Daniel Suarez, Kyle Larson, Ty Gibbs, Noah Gragson, Ryan Preece, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And then Bowman, Byron, and Keselowski. So that's 19 drivers were affected by the big one. So this brought out the second caution for cause and the first red flag of the main event. Well, first and only red flag. At the end of that, Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Todd Gilliland, and Daniel Suarez were all out. Honestly, I expected like 10 of them to be out because there were. It was a pile up. That's what that was. So after that, Ross Chastain and William Byron lead. Byron takes the initial lead. Then going to 1 lap to go, right after they crossed the start-finish line, Ross Chastain tried to go underneath Byron to get around him, and Austin Cindric kind of came up, and they both made contact and spun. That brought out the third caution, which actually ended the race. They did collect like 2 other drivers, but I didn't see who. Like, they didn't show like the tail end of that crash like they did the 60 times they showed the big one. So, and at the end, when the caution came out, William Byron was ahead of Alex Bowman, and William Byron wins the Daytona 500. So the top 5 were William Byron, Alex Bowman, Christopher Bell, Corey LaJoie, and Bubba Wallace. So, this is Hendrick's win on their 40th anniversary of existence. And this also marks, this win also ties Petty Enterprises with 9 Daytona wins amongst them and Hendrick. Also, one thing I wanted to add, When they were interviewing Kozlowski after he got out of the infield care center, did he not look like he had a black eye? I swear he had a black eye. Like someone punched him. Like, did anyone else not notice that? Did anyone else notice that? Or am I just crazy? I think a little bit of both, but honestly, um, so getting into the rating of the weekend, um, the duels weren't really too exciting, other than like the last 5 laps of them. So, but then like this race was kind of getting like the main race was kind of getting crazy a little early, and then once the first wreck happened, they're like, okay, let's chill out for two full for like the rest of the first two stages. So it was kind of boring the first two stages. Then for most of like the third stage, it was kind of the same thing. The last like 15 20 laps was where the real racing started. And honestly, it was exciting for me. Other people might not agree, but um so I'll probably give this race probably an 8 out of 10 on my ranking. Um, the whole weekend, probably a 7. The duels kind of brought the score down, but other than that, racing's back, baby. Um, so I think that is going to be it for the season opener of the Ben Fender podcast. Thank you all very much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, as well as go check out my other channels, one being my main channel of Fan Rantan, and the other one being a D&D channel with my friends called Drunkards and Dumbasses. So, please go check those out, and we will see you next week for Atlanta. Peace, baby!